Today we're going to show you how to install an EVENTURI carbon fiber intake on an F80 M3. Hey, this is Brian. Thanks for watching Kies Motorsports. If you like our videos, give us a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe and check us out at kiesmotorsports.com. Today, our Ferrari Red F80 M3 is getting this incredible EVENTURI intake. Now, as you can see here, I went with the traditional black carbon fiber. However, this is also available in Kevlar if you want a different color like red, blue, and yellow. Cool thing about EVENTURI, not only does it look amazing, but it's very functional as well. EVENTURI has done their own testing and they have shown that you can get up to 15 to 20 horsepower and 18 to 23 foot-pound of torque just by adding this intake. Now for the EVENTURI intake installation, there are two main parts. You have your intake, and also when we're done that, we're going to install these air scoops right inside of the front grills. The first part of the process is to remove the factory intake. Now we're going to fly through this, but if you haven't done it, basically what we're going to do is we're going to remove this plastic trim over here, and to do this, you just turn these plastic nuts 90 degrees counterclockwise, and we've already loosened it. But there's a plastic fastener over here. The way that these work are you remove the middle like that, and then the entire clip is going to come out, and there's also one over here. Once you've done that, you'll be able to move this to the side, and then you can rock this rubber up, which is going to expose 3 of these 13mm bolts. Then once you've done that, do the exact same thing on the other side. Again, remove this plastic fastener. This is going to slide out of a groove, and you can set this in a safe place. Now while you still have your 10mm out, what you can do is you can remove this bolt that connects your carbon strut brace to your coolant reservoir. And we're done with our 10mm for now. Once you've done that, you can take a 13mm. You're going to release these 3 bolts on this side, the 3 over there, and then the 2 on the front, and then we can carefully remove the carbon strut brace. Then once you've done that, we already have the rubber lifted on this side. All of the bolts are removed, so we can move this rubber over here and just carefully remove this from the car. Now what we can do is we can start to remove the intakes. So for this, we're going to need a flathead screwdriver. We're going to just loosen this hose clamp over here, just like that. Then you can push this little piece of plastic down that holds in the intake. I'm just gonna move this out of the way, set this to the side. And what you can do is pull off your mass airflow sensor. And then there's also a vacuum line right over here. So you just squeeze where the ridges are, and this will come right off. So as you can see, there's ridges over here, there's ridges over here, and there's a little clip on the top and bottom. So what happens is when you push on the ridges, it expands it to release the clip. Once you've done that, what you can do is unclip your coolant line here. Then we're gonna pull this out from the inlet, like so. And you can pull up on the grommets, and your entire air box is gonna come out in one piece. So now that the other intake is out, we can work on this one. So again, just press down on the clip. Now, if these sensors ever give you any trouble, where you're pressing down and it's not giving you enough lift, all you need to do is take a flathead or maybe a pick tool and lift up on this little piece of plastic, and it'll get you over that nub of plastic. Once you've done that, you can take a flathead and loosen this hose clamp, and this is going to enable us to get the air box out. Okay, so make sure you get it nice and loose. Then what you can do is start to pull this back and separate it. And this entire piece will lift up in one piece just like that. Once you've done that, we're gonna remove the rest of this inlet pipe here. There's just one more hose clamp, and you can just use your flathead while you have it out. So just twist that, and once it's nice and loose, you can just pull up and set that to the side. Now what you need to do is take a T20, and we need to remove the mass airflow sensor from our stock intake. Now it's very important that you don't reuse these screws, because what's going to happen is these screws go into plastic and our new screws are machined and they're going to go into metal. So if you ever try to use these screws on an EVENTURI intake, you're going to ruin the screw holes in there. All right, so we're going to take this out. Now when you're reinstalling, always remember, if you look at it, it kind of looks like a triangle. It's flat on top and pointy on the bottom. The point always faces the air filter. And the cool thing about BMW mass airflow sensors, the way that they put the screws, you can only put it in one way. So don't worry, it's not something that can be messed up. Okay, so now what you can do, we're going to take our mass airflow sensor. We're going to gently insert it into our EVENTURI intake. And then as we said before, use these supplied bolts. And these are also a T20. So once you've done that, you can tighten these down. Then do the exact same thing with the other mass airflow sensor. Now what we're going to do is we are going to install the carbon fiber base that our filter is going to sit on. And what this does is it reroutes all of the air from the factory intake duct up into the EVENTURI filter. So what we're going to do, you'll notice that there are two holes. There's one on this side and one on this side. And the kit includes these plastic rivets. We're going to line these up with the factory air duct. So if you look over here on the plastic air duct, there is a hole over here, and there's also one over here. And this is where that little plastic rivet is going to get connected to. Make sure that everything is lined up. And you can insert your first rivet, snap that into place. And then your second one's a little bit harder to get to just because there's limited space. Okay, that's in there. Since we've installed the base of this side of the intake, we're just gonna continue along the installation. We're gonna finish this side and then we'll move over to the other side. So take your main intake tube. It's going to slide into the inlet. Your coolant line is going to clip in just like that. And we're not gonna tighten it yet. We wanna make sure that we get the filter fully installed before we do so. So with that said, you take our silicone hose right here, slide this in. And what I like to do is I like to make sure that these screws are facing up, because it just makes it super easy to get to and they're not gonna hit anything. Okay, so we'll continue to position this where we want it to. Now there are two different filters. Make sure that you grab the right one. This is the one that's going to have this piece that's going to clip into this grommet on the right side. Now before I install it, what I like to do is I like to loosen this bolt and just pivot this around so that it's unseen at the bottom. It just gives it a nice clean look. So let me just twist this around real quick. Okay, so we're just going to pivot that down, and as you can see, I think it just gives it a little bit cleaner look. So then I'll tighten this back up. And just always remember, this is carbon. You don't want to tighten it too much because it could crack on you. Okay, so now what you can do, take your filter, put it in here, and you want to make sure that you get all of this lined up first. So this is going to pop into a groove, and then you can push that down right there. Then you can push your intake together. You may need to rotate this a little bit. And then what we can do is we can tighten these clamps down. Now what we can do, we can reattach our vacuum line right there, make sure that everything clips into place. And we can take our mass airflow sensor and we can clip that in. One thing that I really like about EVENTURI is they thought this out pretty well. As you'll notice, they have this little clip right here, and it's going to make sure that this coolant line is contained. All right, once that's all installed, we can tighten up our clamp right here. Again, you don't want to go crazy tight because you don't want to crack the carbon. Okay, so now that we have the other side of the intake installed, we can do the passenger side. So it's going to be the exact same thing. We're going to take our carbon, we're going to slide it over the intake duct, just like that. Now with this side, it's a little bit easier, I think, if you go from the inside out. I don't think it really matters. If you have a little piece of plastic, I don't think it's gonna jam up your airflow or anything like that. All right, those are fully clipped in. Now what we can do is we can put that little elbow on the filter, and then we'll move on to the front scoops. Now what you can do is you can take your coupler over here, and we're going to put it on the end of our intake tube here. And what I like to do is I like to tighten the one on the carbon first, and then I'll tighten the other one. Now you may notice on this one, I am using a socket. It's actually a 7mm, because once you get it in there, it's a little bit awkward, but I found that if you use a 7mm and a little swivel like this, it makes it much easier to access. Okay, once you've done that, you can reach this pipe through, and then you can slide it down, and then you can take your clamp and make sure that you have that positioned how you want that to sit. So like I was saying, I like to use a socket with this one. It's just a little bit awkward, so it helps to get in there. Now one little tip that I have for you, before you fully tighten this down, you want to make sure that everything is going to line up, so that looks good. Sometimes you need to just pivot it a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right, but since we know that that is a good position, I can continue tightening this. Then I'm going to do the exact same thing I did on the other side. Now when it comes time to clean your filter, this is actually what you're gonna need to do. You take this off, you take this clamp off, and then the filter will actually pop out. So, good little tip to know. All right, I'll put that at the bottom, just like that. And I'll carefully tighten this up. Again, don't go too tight because you could crack the carbon. And then take your coupler. I'm going to tighten it on here first. Okay, so now what you can do is carefully go straight down. Just lift up ever so slightly, and this should all pretty much pop right into place. We're gonna get our coupler lined up. Slide that in. Just need to loosen my clamp a little bit. Look at that. This looks incredible. And tighten it up. Now the last step of this is we need to plug in our mask airflow sensor. Now something that you may notice is that sometimes you need to relocate it a little bit. You just need to undo this clip and put it over there. You can either go above or below the charge pipe. For now, I'm just going to go in front of the charge pipe like that. But once we do some other upgrades, we're gonna relocate it underneath. All right, at this point in the process, the carbon fiber intake is installed and it looks incredible. Now what we need to do is we need to get those carbon fiber scoops installed. So to do so, we need to start by removing the kidney grills. Now there's two main ways that you can do this, and we're gonna link the alternative way up above. The first way, you can remove your weather stripping, take out all of the bolts, and then you can rock your bumper back and reach behind. As you'll see in a moment, the way that these kidney grills are held into place are a series of tabs. And basically what you need to do is you need to press the middle of the tab, you pull it out and give it a little outward pressure, and you just continue and release all of the tabs. Now, for the M cars, it has these nice wide slots that you can actually reach your hand in. There's just a couple tough ones at the bottom, and to get to them, what it is, I just bent a little pick tool. So what I'll do now is I'll pull this kidney grill out, I'll kind of walk you through it, and then once I pull the grill out, you have a much better understanding of what was going on. So for the bottom ones, I'm going to use my tool. I'm going to lift up on the center of the clip, just apply a little outward pressure, and I move that out of the way. Okay, then I'm going to do the same thing on the next one over here. Okay, there's number 2. And these are the hard ones because it's really hard to get your hands in there. But once you get these, the rest come out pretty easy. All right, number 3. And then what we can do is just continue applying a little outward pressure. We'll release the rest of the clips. And now I can show you what we're doing. So basically, as you can see, there's a series of clips. What you want to do is you want to reach your hand up. So when I do the top ones, what I do is I reach my hand in, I press in this little tab, and I apply some outward pressure. Now it's typically best to start on a corner or on an end. So you reach through here, you push down the tab, you pull it out a little bit, then you go over here, reach for this one, go over here, reach for this one. The bottom ones, like I was saying, are just a little bit tough because there's this piece of rubber and it just makes it very difficult to get your hand under. However, if you bend a pick tool or a screwdriver, all you need to do is reach through the grill and then you can hook it underneath and then you can press it in and pull it out just like that. And as you can see, no tabs are broken and everything is safe. Now, once you've done your passenger side, the driver's side comes out a lot easier. And the main reason is because you can reach your whole arm back here. So same exact process. I'm starting right here. Then I'm gonna move over here. We'll pop that out. Now, sometimes you can get your hand in there, sometimes not. You may need to use your tool again. But over here it gets a little tricky because the M3 will block you if you're reaching your hand through. I'm going for that end one right now. Make sure that all of these are released. Okay. Okay. And there's one more. All right, and there's the last one. Okay, slide this out of the way. Now, before we continue with the scoop installation, we just want to show you some of the benefit of having the scoop with a very basic demonstration here. So as you're driving, what's going to be happening is from the corners of your grills, it's going to be sucking all of the air in, and it's going to be forcing it up for your intake to pick up. So with compressed air, if I just spray in, we'll see if the towel moves. Ever so slightly, but not all that much. So let's take our scoop now. All right, we'll put our scoop in place here. Okay, so now we'll do that exact same test with our air with the scoop. And as you can see, there is a ton more air coming through. Again, same little bit of air pressure as we did without the scoop, but it's giving you that much more airflow right to your filter. So let's continue with the installation. So what you want to do is reach in. There's a little rubber tab over here. You're going to release this little grate. So what I was doing is I was just grabbing this little tab right here. It's a little bit hard to see. You just pull it towards you, and that's going to enable you to get these two tabs out, and then it's going to pull straight out. So once you've done this side, you can do the exact same thing on the other side. And it's more of a feel thing than a see thing. Then what you're going to do is you're going to put this inside of here. This little hole right here is going to line up. I don't know if you can see it or not. There's a little hole in your brace that protects your heat exchanger. So now when I'm installing these, what I like to do is I like to put it in like this. And then once it's fully in, you can rotate it into place. So once you have this in place, what you need to do is you need to get one of these fasteners through the piece, the little bracket that's on the back of this piece of carbon, and then into this protective shield for your heat exchanger. Make sure that you use the ones that look like this, because the other ones that look like this will be too big and they will not fit. So you're not gonna be able to see anything right now, but just go by feel and you'll be able to get it, and then I'll show you what to do next. All right, so once you have that clicked in, make sure that when you're doing this, that you have your temperature sensor above, and then what you do is you pull your bumper out, and this will actually sit behind your bumper like that. And as you can see, everything is nice and solid, so we're gonna just pretty much do the exact same thing on the other side. At this part of the process, we are ready to reinstall everything. We'll pop our grills back in and then get that carbon V-brace. Then we'll reinstall our carbon strut brace. At this part of the process, everything is fully installed and torqued back down, and man, this intake looks incredible. Let's take it for a drive and see how it sounds. It sounds really cool. Now, one thing I will say, you're gonna hear it a little bit louder than you would if you were in the car, because we have a zoom recorder actually in the engine bay right now. But you can still hear it from the cabin, so it still sounds really cool. So let's give a little pull in a lower gear. What traction? It's really cool. You can hear when it releases all the extra air. It's like a little blow-off valve sound. It's pretty cool. So while we were driving, Zach's headphones came unplugged. So we don't know if the zoom got sucked in the intake. It sounds so good though. So now I can't hear it through Zach's headphones, and it sounds so good. It's very clean, very refined. It's not obnoxious or anything. It sounds so good. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna use my microphone in here, and we're gonna show you what it sounds like in the cabin. So it might be a little bit hard for it to pick it up, but we'll see what we can do. So I don't know if you could pick that up or not, because I'm wearing the mic, but it sounds really nice. This could be a problem. This sound is kind of addictive, so I'm gonna have to let off the gas. But anyway, this is Brian. If you're interested in an EVENTURI intake or other mods for your BMW, be sure to see the link in the description. We'll have this linked along with some other products. Once again, my name is Brian. Thanks for watching Kies Motorsports. If you like our videos, give us a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe and check us out at kiesmotorsports.com. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.